have some news for you, and it's not good. Not good at all. America has finally been invaded by illegals. It's no longer hyperbole. It's an absolute proven fact. What you're seeing right now is happening in El Paso, Texas. Hundreds of illegals threw caution to the wind and stormed American soldiers. There is no longer anyone who can claim this is just a migration. When you storm the gates and overwhelm armed American soldiers, that is an invasion, which means essentially America is at war. And I recall someone telling us that just a few weeks ago.
And I'll say this, it's a military operation. I mean, we have this is like a war.
It sure does look like the enemy is upon us. But the most disturbing part about this is that the Biden administration just let it happen. They didn't even authorize any military response. And of course, the media is basically ignoring it. Thank God for Twitter/X. Many patriots are trying to get the word out. And you have to understand at this point, your government is not going to protect you. That's now obvious. It's going to be up to you to arm up, lock and load, and get ready to protect your family. There's no other way to say it. It's clear. At this point, America is experiencing an invasion.
Joining us now is Lieutenant Chris Olivares, Texas Department of Public Safety spokesman. Chris, you say some of these Texas soldiers were injured. What can you tell us tonight?
Right, Laura. So, I don't know what more of an example we need to clearly show and justify that we have an invasion on our border than what you're seeing in that video right now. Right now, this happened earlier this morning in El Paso. Approximately 600 illegal immigrants. Majority were from Venezuela, and majority were single adult men that were in that group that actually contributed to breaching those physical barriers and getting across unlawfully. Complete disrespect for our laws in Texas, complete disrespect for the sovereignty of our state, and most important, disrespect for our soldiers and troopers that are on the front lines. Several soldiers were assaulted. We did make several arrests for that, and there is more arrests and more charges to come. But that clearly shows, Laura, that we need to have consequences. We need to hold people accountable that are breaking the law. And this is another example of how Senate Bill 4 would have been proven to be effective. We would have had the authority now to arrest every single person that unlawfully crossed at that particular moment.
I mean, the fact that this is happening in the United States of America is just, how anyone could think this was okay, it's beyond me. And at this point, I think Americans are watching this and saying, how do you hold this type of crowd back? What if it's 500 people? We don't shoot people coming into our country. We don't shoot people. That's not who we are as a country. But if people think that they can get away with it, are you going to be able to arrest 1,000 people if they show up? What next?
That's a challenge that we've been facing for the last 3 years in Texas, because the fact that we have to take on this responsibility because the federal government refuses to enforce the laws that are on the books, and they refuse to protect our law enforcement officers by adding consequences to these type of situations. Right there, you had over 600 that completely just breached those physical barriers that were placed by the National Guard, overtaking our soldiers and assaulting our soldiers. Really shows the type of situations that our soldiers are dealing with and our troopers are dealing with every single day by being on the front lines. It clearly shows also that when you have hundreds and even thousands coming across, it's even more challenging. How are we going to stop that many people coming across the border when we don't have all the resources, especially federal resources? Exactly.
This is an invasion. There's no other way to describe it.
And America is being brazenly invaded by land and by sea and multiple points across the U.S. border. And the Biden administration is doing nothing to help you. In fact, they're doing everything they can to facilitate this for the illegals.
We have a secure border.
And you got to hear this segment by the Border Control President as he talks about everything that's going on at the southern border and the morale of the actual border agents who are responsible for containing this mess.
So, Brandon, your men and women aren't allowed to do their job on a day-to-day basis. So in comes the Texas DPS and National Guard. And now they're knocking them over. Why?
Because they know that they can get away with it. They know darn good and well that they can violate our laws and nothing's going to happen to them. I have conducted numerous interviews.
There is no way that you run up to a man armed with a gun with no fear unless you knew they weren't going to do anything.
With people that have crossed our borders illegally, when I've detained them, and they have flat out told me that they know that nothing is going to happen to me. They've told me that they know that they're going to get released, that they know that the laws don't apply to them. This can be attested to by hundreds of Border Patrol agents that will tell you the exact same story, that these individuals do not fear our laws, and that's why you see scenes like this.
America is under siege, and people don't fear the Biden administration. They know he is not going to do anything. In fact, never made a statement.
They know that they are not going to be held accountable for when they violate our laws, and that's why you see this scene.
I mean, you can't have a group of people legally entering the country that attack our cops and attack the National Guard. Something is going to happen there. That's the only way this ends.
I don't think it ends. I think this is what their plan is. It's obvious at this point. The intent is to overwhelm our police, overwhelm our military with the fear that if you guys take action, we're going to put you in jail for defending America. It's absolutely backwards.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, Lawrence. You know, those National Guardsmen right there, when they were attacked, they could have potentially used lethal force. You know, and I'm grateful that they didn't, because you know darn good and well that the Biden administration would have went after them instead of those individuals that violated the law. So we've got to look at this, and we have to say that the rule of law not only protects law enforcement officers, but it protects these people as well. It protects.
At what point did those officers, those soldiers, fear that their lives were in danger? They would have been completely justified in taking some shots. Hey, listen, I was in fear of my life. There was a mob of 500 or 600 guys out here, mostly guys, and I didn't know what they were going to do. And then once they broke through, I was in fear of my life. Boom. And you start picking people off. But no, you can't do that. They would throw those guys in jail. And every single person watching this video knows that's absolutely what the Biden administration would do.
United States citizens. But as long as we don't have the rule of law, we're going to continue to see this chaos. And President Biden, through his actions, have taught these people that this is okay. You know, they're talking about approving 22,000 Border Patrol agents. We can't keep our Border Patrol agents right now. I
don't blame him. Would you work under these conditions? Hey, listen, I'd like you to go down to the southern border. I'd like you to protect the southern border. But if something were to happen, you can't do anything. And if these guys charge you and overrun you, you can't act. Well, why would I put my ass on the line if you're not going to back me up? It ain't gonna happen.
One of the highest attrition rates in the entire federal government, and we have that attrition rate because we can't do our jobs, because we are demoralized. We know that we don't have an administration that has our backs, and so we have agents that are leaving left and right. Again, one of the highest attrition rates in the entire federal government.
You know, Brenda, I apologize in advance because this congresswoman that I'm getting ready to play the sound, she's from Dallas, Texas.
Okay, so he's setting up at this other congressman. You know, we just went through this whole bloodbath hoax. Well, MSNBC and certain Democrat politicians don't care about context. They don't care about hoaxes. They just continually perpetuate them. So she's from Texas. She knows what happened. And you won't believe what she says.
This represents the area. This is what she had to say about the debunked Haitian whipping gate. Watch.
But as you talk about the racial profiling, you know, right now we're talking a lot about Haiti. And if people think back to the images of those local law enforcement agents on horseback whipping Haitians.
She doesn't want you to think back. She says if you think back, because if you think back, you will realize she's full of shit. It didn't happen. They completely made it up. Months ago, they found out that it didn't happen. And here it is, months and months and months after it's already been determined that it didn't happen. She's bringing it back up again and saying, yeah, you remember, think back when they were whipping Haitians. Man, this media and these Democrat politicians are just complete lunatics.
Haitians also came through that exact same pathway. So it's another failure to really consider this. But obviously, we are consistently having these issues where we don't respect federal law.
The anchor on set agreed. At what point does this become slander?
So Lawrence, my blood is boiling right now. This upsets me more than anything. I know darn good and well that if I came on your show right now and I blatantly lied, you would fact check me in real time. 100%. This is an MSNBC problem. They know darn good and well that this has been debunked. Crockett should have been fact checked right there on the spot. But because she wasn't, those lies become the truth. So everybody that watched that MSNBC program, they believe that those Haitian migrants were whipped because MSNBC didn't do their job and fact check her in real time.
So, MSNBC, which is truly the enemy of Americans, you just heard what she said, and he was right. Their host just let it happen. Oh yeah, the Haitians were whipped, knowing it was full bullshit. So this morning, after this complete invasion at the border, you won't believe what they said on MSNBC's Morning Joe this morning and who they are blaming the invasion on. Actually, you probably couldn't believe it because it's what they do. Take a look at this.
If I were a Democrat running for office, I would do this. I would be carrying this around all day. Look at what the Republicans are doing to you. Look what Donald Trump's doing to you. Donald Trump said, and by the way, this is for you at home, but I
can't get rid of them.
I would carry this around. Because see this onslaught headline? The only thing the Post didn't tell you is Donald Trump said, blame me for this.
He can't even keep a straight face. He's looking into the camera just as I am, knowing full well, A, he's lying, and B, that the audience will just suck it up and won't even do anything to verify or call this guy out. It is now going to be said in the media that what happened at the border is Donald Trump's fault. And everybody on his panel dutifully just nodded and smiled and let the lie perpetuate. It's what these guys do.
Donald Trump said, blame me. So yes, Donald, we are blaming you. There is an onslaught in the southern border still. And it's all Donald Trump's fault.
How can that be? How can a broadcast commentator, a person with a broadcast show, go on TV, on a news network, look in the camera, and blatantly lie to you? They are intent on gaslighting America, and they are intent on doing whatever they can to destroy the American way of life. And as I said earlier, the media is 100% complicit. There was a chart that was shown on TV today that showed that CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC didn't even cover this for 1 single second. Not 1 second of coverage. An invasion at our southern border. 600 people rushing our soldiers, pushing our soldiers out of the way. Soldiers who are armed with rifles, knowing they couldn't fire those rifles, were attacked, run over. And our news media didn't choose to air a second of coverage, not 1 single second. That should tell you all you need to know about the Biden administration and the complicit media and what they plan on doing to America. They're going to court, they're suing Texas, they're suing Florida, and they're doing everything they possibly can to make sure that the invasion amplifies and continues. Some of y'all know I primarily run a football channel here, but this kind of stuff is much more important. It kind of makes football inconsequential. You see, the government wants your focus on these other things. They're giving you bread and circuses so that you don't pay attention to what's really happening. And let's just hope enough people wake up and realize that we are indeed being invaded before it's too late. And sometimes I don't even feel like the United States has an operating government anymore. It just seems like a criminal enterprise looting tax dollars, trillions of tax dollars from hardworking Americans. They've been working hard to greenlight an illegal invasion and simultaneously acting as an accomplice to foreign subversives like the Chinese Communist Party. I have a wife and I have a daughter and I have grandchildren. There's nothing I won't do to protect them. I never thought we'd see this day come in America. And one of the sad parts about this is so many people are willing to look the other way. They really don't care. The apathy is mind-boggling. The media, obviously complicit. Politicians, many of them are complicit on both sides. Some teachers, yep, they're complicit too. Our church leaders, many of them are complicit. And as you know, many corporations are complicit. Does this mean that the outlook for America is hopeless? No, not by any means. I don't think so, because I know God has our back. I'm not being a drama queen. My dad was in the military. My wife's dad was in the military. I know what military men actually think. My brother, as of today, is a colonel in the United States Army. Surrender has never been a part of the heart of the American soldier. It has never been a part of the American people. We have always fought back. But right now, our government isn't fighting for us. All we have is each other and God. This isn't the America my parents knew, and this definitely isn't the America my grandparents knew. And it's going to be up to each of us to take her back. May God be with you, and may your family be safe. While I have no idea what the near future holds for us, I do know the ending. God wins. Keep an eye on this story. Watch what happens. Watch what unfolds. Don't believe the media. Definitely don't believe your government. And just keep watching what's happening with this invasion. And does it grow? Do they make a military response? Keep an eye on this. I'll talk to you soon. I'll follow up as soon as I know more information myself. But God help us all. Talk to you soon.